Well, welcome to another Cutting Edge Show. I'm Omar Neal, one of your hosts. I'm the former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, and the host of the You Got the Power syndicated radio talk show as well. This program is being brought to you in part by the University of Maryland School of Public Health. Well, today we're going to have a really wonderful, informative, and important conversation today. We're going to be talking with some great people about the issue of cancer, the diagnosis of cancer, and what happens. Being this is the Cutting Edge Show, we discuss all things COVID-19, health, wellness, and beyond. And the cancer diagnosis, and this being Cancer Awareness Month, it's apropos that we have this conversation. Imagine the diagnosis, then a new reality is immediately thrust upon you. We're going to talk to some people who really have an intimate knowledge of cancer in a lot of ways. We're going to be talking with Judith Warren, who is the owner of Essentia Strategies, LLC. We're going to be talking with Wendy Thornton Burton, founder of 50 Shades of Hope. We'll be talking with Jimmy Slade, who is executive director at the Slade Enterprise Consulting. And we have with us last, certainly but not least, Samantha Fisher, who is a physician assistant at the University of Maryland St. Joseph Medical Group. We are really going to the Maryland family is in the house, Doc. And so when you talk about the Maryland family is in the house, I can't really talk about that unless I talk about Dr. Stephen B. Thomas, who is my co-host. He is a professor at the University of Maryland School of Public Health and director of the Center for Health Equity. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my friend, my sidekick, a brother from another mother, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. Dr. T, hey man, what's happening? How you doing?
You know, Mayor, it's always good to be in the same space with you, even when it's virtual.
Oh, it's virtual, but that's okay. Spirits connect wherever we are, right?
Let me just say this. I love the pink.
You like the pink?
The pink.
It's cool.
Absolutely.
That's
when
good,
men
man.
wear pink,
absolutely.
What's that say?
That says that you really know you a man. Right. That's what that is. That's what that says. You have no problem with your manhood. That's all that says, right?
And you know, I think it sends a message to our the women in our lives that we hear you. We're at least listening, and we're trying to hear how we can be even more supportive. You know, there used to be a time when you said the word cancer, and it was an automatic, I hate to say this word, people thought of death immediately. And in the
Absolutely.
communities that I lived in, Mayor,
Yeah,
Black people have this thing that if you speak of a thing, you bring that thing to you. So if I don't want to own it, then I'm not even going to say the word.
Right, right. And you hear people say, you know, I'm not going to say it, so I'm not going to own it, right? You know, so, but, you know, again, what we realize is that we have to operate within the parameter of reality, whatever that reality is. And we have to get people to understand that you cannot wish away a cancer diagnosis.
That's right.
That's going to be something that you have to deal with. And it can be dealt with. And I think that's the hope. That's where the hope lies, is that people are living healthy, quality lives who have been diagnosed with cancer. They are survivors, if you will. And we're going to talk about some of the great stories of hope that can be that can come out of a diagnosis of cancer. You know, Dr. T, you know, we don't do this by ourselves. We have a team behind the scene. We call them our tech team, technically headed up by Meg Jordan, the technical director, Soraya Khan, who is our social media coordinator, and Elijah Pugh Jr., sound designer. You know, the point of the matter is this program can be seen and heard on many platforms. You can catch us on all of the social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and more. And of course, you also can catch our newsletter by subscribing. There's a QR code right there to our newsletter, and you can get just a plethora of information about health and wellness. It also archives our show, so even weeks that we don't come on the air, you can catch our previous show through our newsletter. The newsletter is just a wonderful way of keeping up with what we're doing on the cutting edge. And so, all is very, very good, man. And I'm having a great time already because I really look forward to having these kind of authentic conversations because there are many people, and you know what? I'm of the opinion that no one that's going to be listening to us do not know someone
That's right.
that has had to deal with cancer, a cancer diagnosis. Even if they don't know it, there's somebody
That's
that's
right.
have had to navigate these spaces. And so that's why it's going to be so important that we have this authentic conversation, very open and candid conversation.
Now,
Uh,
Mayor, let me just say this.
yeah,
Our last show on the topic was specific to breast cancer.
right,
By popular demand, we've come back with this whole notion of a diagnosis. And I say that because this is also a message to the caregivers out there, the loved ones, the family members who need to know how to rally to support the loved one in their family who gets such a diagnosis.
right,
And we know now more than we've ever known that early detection can save lives and
right,
improve quality of life. That's what this show is about today. Get over the fear, get rid of the
right,
myths and misinformation.
right. And there's something saying an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. There's some things we can do in terms of lifestyles
That's right.
that may mitigate or reduce the probability of cancer diagnosis. I mean, there's some things we can do, and so let's do everything we can to be healthy and to stay healthy. All right, so
Right.
our work is right here, and let's get it started, man. Are you ready to bring on our guest?
Hey, here we go.
Here we go. Judith Warren, who is the owner and principal consultant at Essentia Strategies LLC. I've been knowing Judith Warren for some 40 years, and she's like a sister, man. It's someone I just so much adore. She's a public health professional who have worked in a lot of spaces, an entrepreneur dealing with the management and communication, strategy development, and all of those things. But at some juncture, she, as has many people, have been diagnosed with cancer. And she wrote a book,
Wow.
More Than a Conqueror:
Wow.
My Journey Through Breast Cancer. And so she wanted to take her pain and put it into purpose.
There you go.
You got it and to use every bit of her knowledge to convey to other people how to navigate these very difficult and troubled waters. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming my dear friend, my sister, Judith Warren. Hey, Miss
That's
Warren,
not
how you
correct.
doing?
That's how we bring you up, Judith. Welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored and glad to be here. Thank you. Good to see both of you.
Right. We are so appreciative to have you. Um, you know, being a public health person, obviously you were dealing in this space long before your personal diagnosis. And so you were working in public health, graduating from the University of Michigan in the School of Public Health. And so, I know that to relive things oftentimes trigger certain things. So if something triggers, we're perfectly fine with your not wanting to talk about it. But being a person that's a professional in public health, and then all of a sudden you go to the doctor or whatever, you are told that you have cancer. Can you take me back to that moment and kind of help me to understand what you dealt with? Because now it's not a professional thing, it's a personal thing.
Yes, yes. Thank you. And very good point, because it does take you in a totally different headspace. I think I mentioned in my book that I thought, helping to take care of other people and look at community health and wellness. And here I am on the other side of the room, from a patient perspective. So I had to rally my troops, get my village to support me, to pray for me, with me, and kind of put on a different hat.
Go ahead, Doc. I'm gonna let you finish.
My sister, public health professional, we do a lot of admonition when we're talking to other people, and then it hits home. And when it came really close to home for you, did anything prepare you for it? You knew all the science, you knew all the detail. Did anything prepare you for the moment when it was you?
Not really, because I had just had a mammogram that came back normal. Everything's clear, fine. And then I felt the lump. And so that made me question, the efficacy of the mammogram. And then to think, okay, I had to really shift and just kind of think, all right, how am I going to beat this? Because I started out saying that. Not that I'm going to succumb. I didn't see it as any kind of shortening my time here on earth if it wasn't God's will. And you have to say that kind of in a fashion, because we know God is sovereign. But I won't digress to that. But it just kind of didn't really prepare me for it, but it just made me kind of shift. I had to really shift from knowing I was going to have to depend on other people to be a part of this experience, like in the clinical space, so that I could get through it in a positive way.
I love the title in the book, and I'll turn it back to you, Mayor. I just love that in the title of your book, you use the word journey. Are you still on the journey?
Every day, every day. It's been 21 years since I was diagnosed, so that's surely a blessing. But it's a journey now that has shifted to helping support other women, who are on this journey. I'm actively working with a few people now, part of a survivor group, breast cancer survivor group, and just working one-on-one and making sure that women know how to positively advocate for themselves.
All right.
And don't get caught up in the white coat mystique of a clinician who's not answering your questions, who's not giving you comfort when you leave the exam room, or just, really to advocate and not to go alone. So that's the journey that I'm on now.
Wonderful.
What's interesting is that I know your family well, and I know how much you love your family. How difficult was it? Because it was not just a diagnosis for you. That was a diagnosis for everyone who loves you.
Right.
And how difficult was it to break that news to them, and how did you prepare to do that?
Well, I just kind of took it straight on, to have the conversation. I have 2 adult sons now. My mother was with me at the time, and my father had already passed due to chronic leukemia. So just kind of reflecting on that experience and how that happened to him. My mom was, she was just a really pillar for me when I shared it with them. Because we know many people. My godmother passed from cancer. My paternal grandmother had a mastectomy when I was very, very young, and I just remember seeing that scar on her chest. So there have been people through our family that have died from cancer. My sons, you know, I don't know whether it's a guy thing, but they were pretty, I think they were more concerned than they let on, you know, when I told them. Just they were there for me and wanted to be sure that I had everything taken care of. So well, I'm sure I know they were concerned and, you know, came home with me and all that because they were away at the time. So I know they were concerned, but, you know, they were, you know, trying to be strong, be tough.
Right.
And I was concerned about them, you know, how they were going to, you know, take this news and wonder, you know, what could possibly happen. How would this turn out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Knowing your sons, I know how that was. But a lot of times people say you have to be strong for someone else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even in their presence, there you show strength
Mhm.
for that person.
Yeah.
When in your quiet times you may have other moments.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
sure.
Thank you so much, Miss Judith Warren. Man, it is wonderful having you with us. Let's bring up our next guest today, Wendy Thornton Burton. I called Robert Taylor, who is a dear friend of mine, a Tuskegee graduate, Dr. T, and the person to whom I work with on other areas. And I said, I want the best person you can find to talk about cancer and deal with it authentically. And he said, give me about 10 minutes. And in about 10 minutes, he contacted me back and he said, I got the person. He said, I just need to check out her availability. That's it. And then he sent me a text back with Wendy Thornton Burton's name. And he said, I'll get you bio and headshot soon. Stay tuned. And so not only he sent me a video to show me what kind of person and how her advocacy was so strong. She's a native of Montgomery, Alabama. She too has two sons, very similar to Miss Warren. And you know, but her focus has now been on advocacy. She created this organization, 50 Shades of Hope, and to be hopeful to people and to help people and to develop outreach programs and charity grants and educational seminars and workshops and health clinics to be of assistance to people who are navigating these waters. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming now my friend, Miss Wendy Burton. How you doing?
Snap her up.
Just
Come
snap her
on,
up.
come on. Snap her up.
Unmute for us. Unmute for me, Miss Burton. Unmute.
Okay, that sounds so good.
Now you got to turn your camera back up.
There you go.
Okay, I'm new at this. That sounds really, really good. I was like, do I know her? Of course, definitely. It's
Well-
nice to be here. Sometimes my speech, because of the brain tumor in January after the cancer, it affected my speech. So I get excited and it bumble, but I take my time. You got me.
Gotcha. Well, what we want you to do, Miss Wendy Thornton Burton, we want you to just be you. You got it? And you just to be as comfortable as you are, because you are with family. You with your friends. You got it? You with your family and friends, okay? So you know, again, changing and turning pain into purpose, right? You have really become a stalwart advocate for people, and to get information out to people, and to be not only there to give people information, but to seek funding to help people in spaces. Why? Well, you know, you could have gone and just taken care of yourself, right? What was that energy? What was that force that put you out there to want to help others in the midst of what you were dealing with yourself?
I had nothing else to do. I'd say that I was at the top of my peak with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced to go through the journey of cancer. I was comfortable in my life, whereas I can do for others, and it doesn't matter about me because the label was on me. I was being stamped, and it was about helping from that point on. It wasn't not easy. Not
Mm-hmm.
no way is easy, but I was able to see the shining light through there. And so many people need a kind word or need help or assistance with anything. I had no choice. You know, they give you the chemo and send you home, and you sit in a chair and you look for your purpose in life.
Right.
With your higher power, what you want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he began to steer me in that direction because it wasn't about me anymore.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Miss-
can you take us? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Dr.
I just want to pull something from your bio that I saw, and it reminded me of when I picked up the phone and called the mayor, having not talked to him for 30 years, Judith. I picked up the phone, I called the mayor, and he came down and moderated the very first national conference of Barbers and Stylists United for Health, 2019, December. Okay.
Yes.
And one of our experts was from the Multiple Myeloma Society. And what they were telling us is that many African Americans have no idea that they're at risk for multiple myeloma, and those that get it, it's not talked about. And so when I looked at your bio, it had multiple myeloma. Take a moment and just tell this audience, we're in the barbershop and the salons.
Okay.
Keep it plain. What is multiple myeloma?
A multiple myeloma is labeled as a bone cancer, where you do not create good blood, and the bad blood eats into your bone, and it crippled me. And it took maybe 18 months to actually find out what it was. I couldn't walk, still didn't know, lost weight, but the bad blood eats into your bones, and it feels like a fracture, but it's really not. And your body is not producing it. When I began to get some help, I was one of the youngest women, African American, to get multiple myeloma. Wow. Because it was so rare. And that triggered my mind because I practically was a wheelchair, boot walking, chiropractic. None of that helped. None of that. Just a waste of money, but they couldn't go straight to the point. Finally, I went to the brain surgeon, and he was a neurologist. And I had a CD, and I said, please look at it. He looked at it and noticed I had 3 fractures, and 6 months before that, I only had 1. So they can't tell them the one. That they sent me to chiropractic to get work on the back. But notice there's 3, and he said it's got to be something else. And I said, what else? I'm gonna send you for the bone intensity. And that's at the cancer center. You automatic panic then. Why the cancer center going over there? But I went, and I could tell with something else. And then they sent me to the specialist there, and he told me what it was and explained it to me.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, Miss Wendy, that took courage. That took a lot of courage. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, you have such a wonderful spirit. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much. We're gonna have a really good conversation. I can already tell. Let's bring on up our next guest. Samantha Fisher. We met earlier. She has such a wonderful spirit as well. Physician assistant at the UM St. Joseph Medical Group. And so, again, people who are literally working in this space, and she focused on both new and ongoing breast cancers. And as we know, breast cancer was what we dealt with on our last cancer show. We want to really bring someone who works on the clinical side of that, knowing how people process it, what it is, and what we can do to treat, to mitigate the negative impact of cancer. You meet somebody and their smile just brightens your day. Samantha Fisher is that kind of person. Please join us in welcoming our next guest, Miss Samantha Fisher. How are you doing?
Snap her up now. Come on, let's snap
you
her up.
Thank you so much. Oh, I lost my voice. Thank you for having me.
To have a person who literally the people who maybe even tell people that they have cancer. This notion of empathy is so critically important. And so I want to ask you, how do you process, how do you approach a person when you've seen the diagnosis before you have to tell a person? How do you do that? How do you prepare yourself?
How do I? Well, it's not really about me. And
You just muted yourself.
Muted yourself. Okay, here we
There you
go.
oh,
There we
sorry.
go. There you go.
It's not really about me, right? It's about the patient and what their family and they are going through. So, I mean, I think what I try and remember is that just because I talk about it all day, every day, doesn't mean that anybody else understands it. So it's keeping it simple. It's breaking it down to keep it easy to understand. And that might not mean every single detail at first, but understanding that there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of answers. And that is what people, they want to hear they're going to be okay, or they want to hear the truth. And that's all really important to remember, is that you're taking care of someone's most precious loved one.
Mhm.
And that's really important.
Samantha, I just wanted to say that when people come into the clinical space, they see all kind of folks in white coats and different specialties, and help them understand, what is a physician's assistant?
So a physician assistant is an advanced practice provider. That's the new trendy term. You can think of nurse practitioners and physician assistants kind of grouped into a similar bucket. And as PAs, we work under our own license in each state. And then for the majority of states, we work under MDs, and that's the state of Maryland. So I work with two wonderful surgeons, and you see patients independently. You can order imaging, you can interpret those imaging, you can order prescriptions or additional tests, referrals, anything. So I have patients I see all by myself, but the docs are always standing close by if there's an idea I need to bounce off them, or a treatment plan that needs to be discussed, to be
Mhm.
available.
And there's some sense that as a physician's assistant, you actually may have more time to spend explaining things to the patient. So does it fall to you to tell them, or someone else tells them and then you come behind?
I think each, at least in the breast health center world that I live and work in, each facility kind of has their own rhythm for how that flow goes. Oftentimes people get their diagnosis from the radiologist, right? Because
Wow.
that's who is doing these breast biopsies. Now, we do breast biopsies at our center, so sometimes that comes from us. If it's a patient that I'm following for risk or family history or their past history, whatever the reason is, they would hear it from me personally.
Okay.
And that's always nice to have a relationship, but there's actually a lot of people who can tell you that kind of news, good or bad. And it's
Wow.
not just the PA.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, again, we are so appreciative to have you in this space because you're going to help us navigate this from that perspective, from the other side, from the clinical side, and that's going to be very important. Thank you so much, Ms. Samantha Fisher, for hanging out with us on the cutting edge. We appreciate you. Good.
Of course.
Last but certainly not least, let's bring up our last guest, Mr. Jimmy Slade, and I'm gonna let Dr. T. I'm gonna let you introduce this young man that you've known for umpteen years.
Well, when I arrived at the University of Maryland in College Park in 2010, one of the very first things we did was to establish our Community Research Advisory Board. And as I asked around about influencers and community leaders, Jimmy Slade's name came up multiple times. And one of our first activities together was with the work that he does with community ministries of Prince George's County. And every week, Omar, and the audience out there, every week, they rotate among these churches to actually feed the homeless. Okay.
Hmm.
And on the day that we worked with him, I had Fred Spry, one of our lead barbers, and we actually set up a barbershop on the church stage. So as they were getting their food and talking to the medical professionals, they got a haircut. And we've been working with Jimmy Slade ever since. Just a tremendous human being, as you can see in his background, his military background. And so he brings a lot of logistic insight, intelligence work. Then the pandemic hit. And I'll let him tell you about what happened when all that skill set he has was brought to the forefront in addressing COVID-19 in our communities.
Yeah.
Help me, audience, bring
go
Mr.
ahead.
Jimmy Slade to the stage. Let's snap him up.
Absolutely.
Snap him up. That's right.
Hey, how you doing?
Snap.
I want to salute you, Colonel. I mean,
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you tonight as well.
Absolutely. It's interesting that people find, spaces to be of assistance to others. Well, this is you're not unique to that. Everybody has found some place to, they've had things that happened to them, but they found a way to help others. I believe you're only blessed to be a blessing to somebody else. And that's what you've kind of lived your life, taking all of what you learned in the military and then, applying it to other spaces. And that's amazing. I know that you have this focus of prostate cancer. We talked about breast cancer. We talked about other cancers. But prostate cancer is one of those areas that you have a focus on. Could you tell us a little bit about that and why you have chosen to focus in that space?
Well, thank you. And actually, when Dr. Thomas came to the University of Maryland about 2010, the fate fell on me to be working with a church project on men's prostate awareness church training. And in that particular project, we used the church setting to train leaders within the church who then became influential speakers and advocates for their own peers as what we call community health advisors. And we did that with about 20 churches for prostate cancer and then 15 more churches for breast and prostate and colorectal cancer. And so, and tying it to COVID, we've noticed, as myself being a member of the Maryland State Task Force on COVID and having done several COVID projects in Maryland and in North Carolina, one of the things that we noticed is that COVID has delayed the process of learning about those diagnoses that you're speaking of. Many people are not going in to get the breast mammograms or the prostate specific antigen blood tests or to get the colonoscopies for colon cancer. And when they find out about the cancer, it's often in a later stage. And And in our case as African Americans, even pre-COVID, we often found out about that diagnosis when it was stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And now COVID has made that even more of a challenge in that it is further delayed. So it fell on me. I didn't pick cancer. It sort of picked me to work in that area as an educator and advocate and a research community partner. And as Dr. Thomas said, that operating that Community Place Cafe gave us those almost 30 years of trust within the community, which allowed us to be able to reach out and talk to people about cancer when they even didn't want to talk about it maybe themselves.
You know, because of the examination for prostate cancer, it has really been a difficult thing for many men to discuss or to even seek. How do you navigate? How do you get people to understand the cost benefit analysis of getting prostate exams done early and getting early detection so that the prognosis can be better?
You know, we think it's really through education and what we call this informed decision making, where we encourage men to sit down and talk and consult with their doctors or their other medical persons and even their loved ones about getting a blood test for prostate cancer or the digital rectal exam that many men don't want to have that glove test inserted to check on the status of their prostate, that gland, to see if it's hardening, is this got bumps on it, those type of things that would lead a doctor to recommend further examination as they go about developing that information to come up with that diagnosis. And so the key thing we think is to reach out early, get trusted people to start talk with their fellow peers about prostate and all of these cancer exams, and then from that to have them prepared to, as was stated earlier, you're never prepared to receive that diagnosis, but when you have information, you can better determine what you're going to do as your next step as a result of the diagnosis.
You know, the
You know,
colonel.
Mayor,
Hold.
I'm
Okay,
just
go ahead.
wondering, because it's come up and we want to get the basics right, you know, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And for those who've been through it, you may know what that means, but I'm wondering if Samantha could help us with, what do those stages mean? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. I don't know. Maybe there's a stage 0.
There is a stage 0.
Samantha?
So it depends on the type of cancer and really how the staging works, but it has to do with the size of the cancer, how aggressive the cancer is, this on a cellular level. Different receptors play a role in that, how many lymph nodes are involved or no lymph nodes. In the breast world, there is a stage 0 also.
And
Okay.
I would just kind of add to that, Dr. Thomas, often when we look at prostate cancer, there's a stage 0 and stage 1 and 2 are often when the cancer is still confined to the prostate gland itself, that walnut gland just below the bladder. And stage 3 and 4 is spread outside of the prostate. And now it's getting into the lymph node systems and it's metastasizing and spreading in other parts of the body. So if
Okay.
it's detected in stage 1 and 2, it makes it so much easier to treat it. And there's so many more options that a person will have in responding to that diagnosis.
So Omar, there's a message to you, me, and all the men listening out there. Early
well, you know,
detection matters.
I mean, well, that's with anything, you know, and you're absolutely right. You know, one of the things, Ms. Warren, you mentioned the fact that you had gone and gotten all clear with your mammogram, right? And you detected something yourself. So I guess it's important that you listen to your body and that you do an examination of your body, regardless of what other people say. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And in the world of breast cancer, There are door hangers, kind of like shaped a card, that are widely distributed so that a woman can put that on the shower nozzle in the bathroom as a reminder. Some people, to set a date, excuse me, excuse me, each month when they can do that self-breast exam.
Yeah,
So
so go
it's
ahead. No, I want you to elaborate on it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's vitally important, and to just tag on to what Mr. Slade is saying about hesitating to do that self-breast exam or getting that mammography. The American Cancer Society did some research into, I think it's 10 markets, 10 cities around the country that looked at that interview. They had consumer focus groups and talked to African American women in particular about what causes them to delay getting a mammogram. And then I hear it also, but it's to things like, oh, it hurts. Well, it hurts for 5 minutes. I mean, so 5 minutes and the rest of your life. And, that's kind of the trade-off. Or the technician, the mammography technician was rude, was insensitive. And so that's a big thing, for African Americans, and I think in particular, who've lived through some very uncomfortable times of getting care from insensitive providers.
Yeah.
And now that we have more foreign-born and foreign-educated physicians in primary care and in a lot of urban hospitals who have never had or had limited contact with people of color. Their preconceived notions of how to take care of us comes from what they see on TV or their biases that they have. So that's why it's so important to have that courage, if that's what it takes, or someone to walk with you to say, let's go get this mammogram. And then lastly, because I don't want to, consume all the time, the lack of insurance coverage in states, Medicaid insurance coverage for low-income populations. Without Medicaid expansion in most of the Southern Belt, where the rates of
Absolutely.
death and morbidity are high, you have large numbers of people who didn't get coverage. And COVID benefits expired, where women were able to get some type of coverage, but those benefits post-COVID have ended. And so now that's an access issue of not being able to get a mammogram or not be able to get a follow-up biopsy or ultrasound. So those are just some points, that I wanted to express.
Yeah. Miss
Gotta be a
Burton,
fighter. You got to be a fighter. And in Wendy's bio, I think you called you the strong warrior. There's a mentality of you taking charge of your own health, being a lot more assertive, and asking for the questions that you have to be answered in a way that you have confidence. And we're hoping a show like this and having that conversation in the barbershops and beauty salons actually helps people when they're interacting with their healthcare professional to be assertive, to be partners in their own care.
Ms. Burton, I want to kind of come back to you because you were saying that you were the youngest to be diagnosed with your type of cancer. Did they look at your family's history to try to ascertain whether or not anyone may have had that kind of cancer in your family, or was it some other reason that they detected that may have come upon you?
I think she may be frozen.
Are you frozen?
But one of the things that she said and Ms. Warren has said is that it's a journey to just get to the diagnosis.
Right. Right.
And I'm wondering, Samantha, are you finding people that have gone through multiple kind of trying to find out what's wrong, and they finally get to you. How long is that journey? Is it common or uncommon that people, I don't want to say misdiagnose, but it takes time to actually get the right diagnosis?
Well, I think since the main part of COVID, 2020, 2021, we saw a lot of delay in care. And we actually have seen a lot of catch up in the last year. And I don't see a lot of wait time. Now, there are some uninsured people who have to wait for coverage through certain programs. And I will say there are lots of university hospitals that have programs available. So if you don't have insurance, I would advocate for you to reach out. I know we have programs for screening mammograms. And then if you need additional imaging, there's ways to get access to that. So just because you don't have insurance, please, please, please don't think that that's the end stop. There are ways. And yes, you might have to advocate a little harder, but please, reach out to your primary care or your hospital and see what programs are available. But I mean, we like the ball to keep moving pretty quick. So once you say you feel something in the breast, or I'm sure in other, body parts, also other providers do this, we try and keep the ball moving really fast and, see you quickly and get imaging. And we have relationships with our imaging providers so that we can get you in. I mean, that's the goal, get you in the door, and then we can help you.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's do this while we are trying to get Ms. Burton engaged. Let's take a pulse. Dr. T, let's do the word cloud now. And then we'll come back.
So
and, tee it up.
For our guests and for everyone listening, I want you to think right now of a word that best describes how you're feeling at this moment in the new reality of living with COVID. Okay, that's the shared experience we all have. Judith, Samantha, Wendy, Jimmy, think of a word right now and just put that word in the chat. And then put as many words for the next 60 seconds in the chat that reflects how you're feeling. For those of you out in cyberspace, social media land, you can use the Q&A box. Start putting those words in for the next 60 seconds, and the team behind the scene is going to build a cloud. And one of the things that we'll see is the more people who say a word, the bigger that word will be. So the countdown has started. Just keep putting those words in, even as we continue the conversation. It looks like Ms. Burton is back.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yeah. Well, one of the things people often ask the question, well, was it derivative or was it congenital? Meaning, was it part of your family? Did you trace any of what happened to you through the family, through your genes, or was it something that was unique to you? You said that you were the youngest to contract the cancer that you had.
Multiple myeloma.
Multiple myeloma. Was it anybody in your family other than you that you discovered to have had it before?
No, it was not related to anybody in the family, not even in my grandparents. And no one had experienced it. It's like leukemia, the blood disease. Mm-hmm. And then no one had experienced it in my family. Breast cancer, I have several aunts. My grandparent, one of them died from liver cancer. No link whatsoever to anyone in the family.
What did obviously you had certain treatments. Did they talk about things like diet and things like that to help you navigate this? Did you have to go on a special diet? What did you have to do once you were diagnosed?
Once I was finally diagnosed, I went through the cancer treatments here, and I still couldn't walk in the left feet. It some kind of way wiggled to my feet, and I couldn't walk. And then I was going to Birmingham to have the bone marrow transplant, but remove all that bad blood and give it back, pump it back to you is called a new birthday. And they removed it a couple of weeks before the December the 4th, new birthday, and they put it all back. And then we came back with a strong dose of chemo. But I was taking chemo and a chemo pill, and I still take a chemo pill daily. And after they gave me the blood back, this was the nightmare. Those days, I think I stayed in hospital 18, 19 days, and it made you weaker and weaker. And it was a while before I really
Okay, she
Yes, you got a bit of
froze.
a slow connection.
But-
But you know, what's interesting about the multiple myeloma is that when we hear about cancers, the idea of bones breaking and fractures
Mhm.
is just something that never comes to mind. And then you
Right.
hear about this particular cancer that affects, you know, the strength of your own bones.
Yeah. Is Dr. Ritter with us today? If so, let's see if we can bring her in. I want to kind of Dr. Ritter is our resident gynecologist. She's been with us for forever. Dr. Ritter, we're talking about cancers, and you know so well, being a physician, how that can strike anybody at any time, and it doesn't matter who you are. It does not have it does not discriminate. Cancer can heap upon anyone. Tell us your perspective as a physician in dealing with cancer, and how do you help your patients navigate this space?
Sure, thanks. Well, I have personal experience with cancer too, and it really stems from your personal experience. It teaches you more than anything you learn in a book, I feel. I mean, as an obstetrician, I feel like I didn't know anything about delivering a baby until I had one myself.
Right.
But my mother had breast cancer, and she was at the time when it was before mammograms. It was a radical mastectomy on her. Can you believe it? That was with her 10th kid, and she woke up with that because they just put her to sleep, and she was pregnant at the time. So they did a radical hysterectomy, C-section hysterectomy. And that was on her 10th child. So my dad felt like he was going to be, a single dad with 10 kids. So that's what I grew up with. My mom survived that. But she survived to see one of her children die from cancer at the age of 42. So I know how cancer is presented to the family, from that side of the bed. And so I know what didn't work, and I know what did work from a personal experience. So they never really teach you how to tell bad news. I mean, they do a little bit, but it's mostly about what we do next. I like that Samantha said, you don't have to tell it all at the same time, because so many clinicians just want to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is what we have to do. We're in the breast center. We put you in this machine and you go through it. So taking the time to just let it absorb is what has to happen, because the individual who has the cancer has to absorb it, but the family members have to absorb it too. And as a family member who had to absorb that information, I feel like that's as important, to explain it to the whole family. So it's a group effort.
Yeah. I want you to stay right there. Samantha, Ms. Fisher, trying to get someone who's just been diagnosed with cancer to go and explain what they were just told to somebody else has to be difficult. How available is the physician or physician's assistants or some other professional to the family to explain to the family what the new diagnosis is, and what the family can do to be of support to that patient?
mean, I think we're really lucky at the Breast Health Center at St. Joe's because we have a lot of resources and a lot of people available to talk to the patient and the family members. I mean, myself or the physician, we spend about an hour with you at the time of diagnosis just to have that discussion. And that involves your family members. So we're accessible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, you are a model because that's the first time I've heard that kind of time is spent with someone. And it's important because people are processing. There's a lot of emotional stress that is accompanied by a diagnosis. And that has to be taken into consideration. These are human beings who just gotten a devastating news, in their whole mobility, their ability, their mortality is what I'm saying. Their mortality is being questioned. Will I live?
And I have to give a shout out to University of Maryland because I refer a lot to Samantha and her group there. I tell the patient they have the cancer if they haven't heard it already, and I send them there, and they come back to me and they say, well, how are you doing? Oh, it was great. It was nothing. I mean, they did great. They have like the system that like the patients almost feel worse for the doctors than in some cases. I don't know what you guys do and say to them, but you make it really palatable. So I have to get a shout out to University of Maryland Breast Cancer Center. You guys do it. You do it high quality. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. And I think that's really important to reiterate. There is hope in the breast cancer world, right? I mean, we're catching things so much earlier than we were previously. And I think it's how you phrase it. This doesn't have to be what defines you. It can be a part of, right now it might be really critical in your whole story, but there is hope beyond. And I think the way that we choose to discuss it with individuals and their family can help redo the framework in your brain so you can see, oh, they're talking about the future. They're talking about me seeing my kids graduate or my grandkids being born. And that's important.
Right. That's where that hope comes from.
That's right. Judith Warren mentioned something that we're seeing probably around the country, and that is we can make no assumptions what our providers necessarily know about the local community. It's not as if they grew up, in the neighborhood. And you're in the city of Baltimore, and you've got we're one of the most diverse states in the country. So what differences, if any, on the cultural domain do you make as you're dealing with different people that come before you? Is the message the same? Doesn't matter whether you're talking to a man or a woman. Does it have to be matched? If it's breast cancer, it has to be a woman clinician talking to a woman patient. Does it have to be matched? Can you work across gender? Say a little bit about that.
So we have both gender surgeons in my office. And if you are interested in seeing a female and that feels more comfortable, that's part of the discussion on the phone scheduling the appointment. And that's a luxury that we have that maybe some offices don't. And I think sometimes there are people who feel more comfortable with a specific male doctor. If you're a man, maybe you would feel more comfortable with a male. I think a lot of people ask, how long has that person been in this field, right? They want to know that you're qualified. But the conversation is very factual, right? I mean, this is what you have, and this is what we recommend you saying to your family members. And we talk about how to talk about it with your family members or church people or neighborhood people. And because you kind of get stumped and overwhelmed when you're fed all this information, and now you have to regurgitate it. And maybe you're still trying to figure out what that even is to start with.
Yeah. Ms. Warren, you had something that you wanted to say. I saw that earlier. Do you remember what it was? I just want to make sure I'm drawing you in to this conversation.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yes, I do. And I kind of reflect back on the introduction when you were asking how it impacted me.
Mhm.
And I really comes to mind that it really hit me when they told me I was going to lose all my hair.
Mm.
It's a woman thing, you know. That's
Mhm.
when
It could be
they
a
told
man
me,
thing too.
Well, it's too
yeah,
late for you, Dr. T. That's
I still go to the barbershop though.
well, they should give you a half price.
yeah. So that's kind of when it hit me, the impact. And I actually interviewed oncologists before I decided who was going to provide me care.
Okay, slow
Um,
down. Slow down. You did what? You
I interviewed.
interviewed.
Yes,
Keep going.
yes, I interviewed. I got recommendations from my breast surgeon, who was a female. I sought out a woman practice, which I was blessed to find. This was in Cincinnati, Ohio. And they recommended two oncologists. And so I went with my sidekicks to have this meeting to talk about what would be their care plan and how are we going to approach this. And the first one was highly respected with his peers, but he didn't have a really good, in my opinion, patient rapport. You know, matter of fact, didn't have a really
bedside manner, right?
bedside manner. The second one I liked better, so I went with that guy. And these were both men, oncologists. But and that's what as you're saying, Dr. Thomas, about advocating, it's so important, and to don't go alone. If possible, there are many survivor groups now in the breast cancer recovery and survivor world that would certainly welcome the opportunity to be on the phone. You may not be able to be present in the room, but you could be on the phone with someone if they've given permission, so we can be all HIPAA compliant and all that type thing. But to be on the phone and have that and help to translate or expand on questions or information that the doctors or whoever the clinician is sharing with you.
That is so important, Omar. Did you see the word she used? She said, I took my posse.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with when you go into war, we go with your posse, right? And that's exactly what she did. She was saying that I'm serious about this. You notice that she said I interviewed people because this is my life, right? So she took agency, she took control over the process. And I think that has a lot to do with not just her personality, but also her training, because she knows that that's required. If you're going to get good outcomes, you have to be actively involved in the process, right? That's going to be critically important. I think we got the word cloud is ready. Let's bring the word cloud up. I see we got Miss Burton back. I'm so happy to see you. Right? Then we're going to bring you back in. Look at where we are. Thankful. The larger the word, the more people say it. Informed, right? Inspired, open, loved, community, warrior, encouraged, secure, optimistic, motivated, relieved, positive, helpful, gratitude, supported, and progress.
Wow.
But look at it. We are grateful and thankful because we are now informed.
There you go.
Wow, that's
And
powerful.
Mayor, what we say, once people have the information they need,
they naturally gravitate to take care of themselves.
There you go.
Right.
To
right.
save their own lives. And that's why we want this information to be discussed in
Right.
settings that people already have trust, in the barbershops, in the salons. And I want our guests to know that our barbers and stylists have gone through formal training to become certified lifestyle coaches, to be certified community health workers, but they're not working in a hospital. They're working in the community. And they can be partners with you clinicians to help our community be more proactive. Hey, Jimmy, are you hearing how the ladies are getting themselves organized? They got color codes, they got a posse, and some of the guys are still afraid of the rectal digital exam.
Well, I had a question from one of the men along those lines, and he asked, is it effective? And And the response is, yes, the PSA, you get false readings sometimes, but the PSA plus the digital rectal exam together are fairly effective. But also, men have to know their trend, just like the ladies pointed out. They have to know just like they know their car. They take it to a mechanic, but the person that knows the most about that vehicle is the one that's driving it all the time.
Right.
So men have to do the same thing about their health as well, and particularly about their PSA numbers and those type of things.
Yeah.
And you got to be courageous.
Yeah. Let's bring up Sandra Jenkins, go up to the Pennsylvania area. And
So, yeah, for our guests, we have the barbers and stylists from all over the country are listening, and some are coming in. They're going to talk to you. Let's snap Sandra up. Come on,
hey,
Sandra.
how you doing?
Good evening, Mary Neal. Good evening.
We're just so happy to have you. Again, people who are dealing with people like stylists have deal with people who have all kinds of issues. And if you notice that Ms. Warren said that out of all of the things that cancer and the treatment of cancer can do to you, it was losing her hair that really brought it home for her. That's what you deal with, is hair.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be the case with your clients?
By all means, yes, to their question. I so much feel so inspired by you, Ms. Warren, for sharing that, because that is one of the most concerning of women that I've experienced in over the 30 years that I've been in the industry. I've had several clients who have experienced various forms of cancer. And all of it is different. Every time I think I'm strong enough to handle it, because these are people that I've gotten so close with, they're like sisters to me. And when it hits them, the experience is different for me. The most recent is one of my clients, and she has been diagnosed with uterine cancer. Her sister has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So there's this double whammy here. And I'm really, really close to these two women. Losing hair is quite an experience to see in a hair salon. When the hair loss occurs, it occurs in the shampoo bowl. So you have to be prepared for when those clients come into your salon and they've already started their treatment. You don't know what the experience is going to be. When the hair loss occurs, it lifts up off the head like Velcro. So only the stylist that can see what's happening, but that client in your chair has to be just very trusting of you and have that relationship with you, that you are going to handle the situation with truth. So when this occurred to me, various times, one had lost her hair after the first treatment, and it was quite devastating. I couldn't help myself. I cried, and she looks at me and she said, "Sandy, what happened?" She said, "Did the hair come out?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Okay, I'll be fine. I'll be okay." And I looked at her. I said, "Wandra, come off it, Wandra." And it just really took me by the wayside, because generally I'm thinking that I can handle these situations on my own. In this case, it was just so tearing for me. And till this day, she has been quite a trooper, the most resilient woman that I've ever met. And this situation occurred, I would say, maybe about 8 months ago. So in the midst of these 8 months, this transition, she has grown some hair back, and the hair grows back a different texture. And it is quite very becoming on her with this cute little short, like pixie cut, you know.
Mhm.
So what?
You
aside-
you gave her the right cut, right?
Oh yeah, I sure did. I gave her the right cut, and I just have to say that when you're behind the chair and you're dealing with these circumstances, and you have your client that has expressed to you something that is so sacred in such a sacred place, what is happening to them? It's really something that is so magical that you can see beyond. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You fight along with them to get them through their journey. And when that journey occurs, it is one of the most informative and the most enlightening experience that one could ever have.
Wow.
So in this field, I'm constantly learning. It's great to really have that community health workers title behind you, because then other people in the salon see you in action. And whenever there's something going on with someone else, whether it's cancer and any other issue that's going on, you know how to handle the situation based on their individual case. So thank you so very much, everybody, Mr. Slade and all of you.
Well, let me, hey, Colonel, I'm gonna go into barbershop because let's bring up Mike Dynamite Brown. I want to bring him up. I want to go into barbershop because one of the I know men, because we've had a lot of conversations about men and their trust in the medical industry, particularly Black men. Let me be very clear on that, right? And a lot of times we get diagnosed very late because of our procrastination, our reluctance to get tested or to get assessed through the medical industry. Mike, have you found that to be the case, particularly as it relates to prostate examination?
Absolutely. Not just on prostate, but just in general wellness. You know, when I talk to my clients, most of the time I'm like, man, how you doing? No, how are you really doing? You know, are you feeling good? Any aches, any pains anywhere? You know, because we're getting older, and a lot of my clients are getting older as well. So like on two of my clients, and I can say for certain that when I do the razor shave, I take the towel off, and underneath his neck is a growth, and it's getting bigger. And I've noticed, I told him 3 months ago, I said, man, check this out. So last week when I cut him, I said, man, this thing is getting bigger. You need to check it out. He said, oh, really? Is it? You know, so these little warnings, these little telltale signs, you know, it's just like, take care of yourself, you know, go check it out. It could be nothing. It could be something to save your life. But every time I see something, and I'm very observant, I try not to miss anything. And especially when I'm touching around your face and I know the structure of your face, I can tell if something's out of whack if you're my client. And most of my clients I've had for over 10 years. So it's definitely a personal relationship. It's definitely something that I don't think anybody else could say that would get consideration unless it was, maybe it was bothering them. This is something that's not bothering, but it's growing. And I'm telling them, so you need to get this checked out, you know. So just a little preventive maintenance from what I see visually. I'm not a doctor, but the language that I get from here and learn, I can repeat it in the barbershop. And once people know, they tend to gravitate to, as you just said earlier. So that's the formula, and that's what works for me.
You know,
just on the whole prostate, because it's for Black men, you know, they have the highest prostate cancer mortality in the world. It's a real issue right here in Metro DC as well. And so for Mike to be able to speak the truth and help him get it checked out, he's having that conversation in the comfort of the barbershop. Now, the key is once he goes and gets it checked out, does he get a provider that can work with him, that can talk with him? You see how Judith described, she interviewed people. So if you get one bad encounter and you say, oh, I'm just not going to go anymore, you're hearing folks are like warriors. You have to be vigilant and fight for your own health and not be afraid of the screening procedure, be it PSA blood draw, prostate antigen test, or the digital rectal exam.
Yeah.
All
You know-
these things are part of helping identify early detection matters.
You know, one of the things too is that people say if it doesn't hurt, it can't be that bad. So, Colonel, have you heard that before? You know, I can tolerate it till it hurts, right? If it don't hurt, it can't be that bad. How deadly is that way of thinking?
We think that's very deadly, and we often hear, if I don't know about it, it doesn't matter. And also we as men, we're taught to take that pain and to take a hit and keep on ticking. But it does matter. And I think I want to ask Mike, when you bring up the family, we find that often men may not do things for themselves, but if we encourage them to think about what the impact on the family is if they are incapacitated, lost, those type of things, sometimes that makes a difference in their action. And they think about the family and is related to them.
Well, Miss Burton, you unmute for me if you can. Miss Burton, are you okay? 50 Shades of Hope. Where did that come from?
Well,
So I think she's still got a slow connection.
Yeah, she's got a connection problem.
And
Let's
lots
pull
of
her out
time to
right now.
think. I started researching all the different types of cancer. And you hear me?
Yeah, keep going.
Go-
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Just go
going.
ahead.
Searching all the different types of cancer, and it was so many. And I said to myself, I have to stop at 50, not leave anyone out, but try to include everyone with hope.
Mm-hmm.
I, in another time, in another show, I went for my yearly breast exam. They saw something last month, and I did the biopsy. They said something in the lymph nodes. I barely shared this with my family. Maybe my mother and my son was on speakerphone. She talked about the speakerphone. I turned the phone on, but it saw something in my results and never called. I get to Birmingham to my doctor appointment yet Tuesday. She says, good news is not breast cancer. What I was like, praise the Lord. I knew it took a long time. They didn't know what it was. So they say, sit right here and bring the specialist in. Specialist comes in, take him a while, and he tells me, I can't even pronounce what he said is this form of cancer is Hodgkin lymphoma. I get this 2 days ago.
Wow.
On Tuesday. And today was first time I looked it up. And I was speechless and I've been in the numb zone, but I had to concentrate on 50 Shades
Wow.
because that's all I know to do.
Wow.
And Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And sometime I went for the exam for Dr. S. Norman. And this was the outcome. So it left me just speechless.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
But I'm up for the fight.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I can't pronounce it. I can't. Hodgkin they're like a lionoma, but it's spelled differently. My friend girl, she can pronounce it well. I've been practicing how to pronounce what I have. But I'm up for the fight.
Miss
So-
Fisher, do you know what she may be talking about? What kind of cancer it would be?
She might be talking about Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes, yes.
Hodgkin's.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Can you give us any basic understanding of what that is?
You know, it's a cancer in your lymph nodes, and there's different kinds of lymphomas. So I mean, I won't be able to speak specifically on that, but that is a diagnosis that you get sometimes off of a breast abnormality, more a lymph node abnormality we see in the breast.
So it's so fresh, Samantha, as she's describing. She just learned this
Mhm.
and saying, I've been practicing how to pronounce it and help my family pronounce it. So ways in which we're able to demystify, put in plain language, it really does matter, especially when you're trying to explain to the family members what's going on. And Mayor, I'm hoping that we get some sense that the network, the family network,
Mhm.
really can make a difference in helping people through their journey.
Right. Dr. T, do you know we got 8 minutes left and we have to call it a day. Can you imagine how quickly time flies when you're having this kind of thing? I want to know if Katrina, I noticed that you have both your if we can bring Katrina Randolph up. Katrina.
Hello, everyone. I'm here.
Okay, hey Katrina Randolph, how are
How
you
are
doing?
you?
Good.
I'm great. I'm great.
You know, you have been a yeoman in terms of helping people through different things, and also I appreciate your transparency and your openness to even share personal experiences. When we're talking about cancer, and even hearing Ms. Burton talk about a recent diagnosis, how does this play out in the salons where you are?
Well, definitely in the salon, we've been talking about it all month since it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we've been talking about all kinds of cancers. And most of our clients has been very transparent. I mean, we had a few clients in here today talking about they found, out they had breast cancer when it was at the 0 stage, which was great. So we just love on our clients. Most of the time, we're sharing this information. As a matter of fact, we're having a brunch for the cure next week for our clients that has been diagnosed with different types of breast cancer, just to love on them, to support them. We're going to cook for them. We're going to do a sip and paint for them, but we're going to drink juice, not wines, but just love on our clients. And like I said, there's been a lot of transparency going on in the salon in the last month. But while we were talking about this, it was a very touchy subject for me because my mom got diagnosed with lung cancer at the age of 65. And I watched her go through her chemo treatments and her radiation. And I watched her lose her hair. And what was very touching to me was just her being that strong, resilient woman, being able to lose her hair and still be strong about it. And I had to ask her in her last days, what do you really feel like losing your hair and being able to look in the mirror and being able to accept the woman that you are? And she was saying, I feel very good. I feel good about still being upon the earth. And when God is ready to call me home, I'll be ready to go. So when we were talking about this and my mom losing her hair, this was a very touchy subject for me today. So I'm always honored to be in the room and listen and grow and learn, to be able to come back and share this information behind my chair with my clients.
Good. Thank you so much. We
Katrina.
love you.
Yes.
Trey Shea Studio, right? Up in the
That's who
Maryland
you
area.
are.
Absolutely. I know it like a back of my hand, right? All right. I see Rochelle Newman. I see you are there. I wanted to know if you there. And let me see who else. Andre, let's go to Andre down in the ATL.
Atlanta.
Hey man, how you doing?
There you go.
I'm doing fine, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, we have to understand that we are up in Atlanta. We're not down in Atlanta. We're
It depends on where you are. It depends on where you are. You were down from Maryland.
From Alabama.
Yeah, they may say that, but
Hey,
you know, I've been watching the ATL.
Ain't
We all up in it here now.
Hey man, go ahead.
I did want to bounce in real quick with Jimmy Slade. I'm of that age where every time I go to the doctor, I ask him, how am I setting on this pancreas cancer deal? Because we have pancreatic cancer more than anybody in the world. By the way, I'm in the busiest airport in the world, but I don't want to associate that with this.
Right.
But I get so many different variations of what a PSA test is, and I have two doctors right now who say, "Well, you know, how do you feel?" I said, "I feel great. I fell and I broke my knee, but otherwise, do I have pancreatic cancer?" He said, "Well, there's no direct way to tell." Now, this is the problem that I have. There's no direct way to tell, because by the time we can either find it early or we can find it late, and it has nothing to do with the PSA test. Therein lies my quandary, because I feel that I need to be around forever so that I can have these type of questions with people that come on board.
Okay.
Hello?
Well, Colonel, could you please respond to
Okay.
we could just respond. Okay, thanks. That's a good question.
Colonel and Samantha's ready. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Andre, great question. And prostate cancer, like I say, the most common cancer among men.
Right.
And the second leading cause of death for men from cancer. Now, as far as the PSA is concerned, that number, it depends upon your age. The doctor is looking at how many more years of life do you have based on your good health, and whether you need to watchfully wait and look at that number or to do something about it. And often, if it's not progressing aggressively, if your number is less than 4 PSA and it's not moving up rapidly, often they just want to continue to check it and let you live a good quality life, as it is.
Okay, well, that's great.
Andre, we got 2 minutes, and I want Ms. Fisher to say something.
I'm sorry, I just want to hop in really fast. Mr. Russell, are you talking about pancreatic cancer or prostate cancer?
Prostate cancer.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought you meant.
Yeah.
And
Because those are very different things, and the PSA will only reflect a prostate finding, not a pancreatic finding, which that's a whole other probably long conversation. But I just wanted to differentiate for people listening. The PSA is for prostate cancer.
And thank you very much. And I am sorry with everyone because I don't want to die from either one of those. So
I don't want you to either.
All right.
Thank you, man. I love you, man.
believe it?
Good. Yeah,
60 seconds.
We got it. Okay. What were we saying?
I said we got 60 seconds.
Okay. All right. Let me do this. If everybody could just give who said? Okay, go ahead. Miss
Mayor.
Burton, go ahead. Okay. Let me say this. If everybody could just say one parting thing that you would say to the audience in terms of how to deal with the diagnosis, the new reality, the diagnosis, and then a new reality. What would you say? And I'm going to start with you, Ms. Warren, go to you, Colonel, and then we'll go you, Ms. Fisher, and then lastly, Ms. Burton.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute.
I would say don't go alone and don't delay.
Hey,
And advocate.
that's a t-shirt. I
Okay.
love it.
All right, Colonel.
I would say learn as much as you can, be informed, and like Ms. Warren say, don't go alone, and learn and then follow based on what you've learned.
Okay. Ms. Fisher.
Ask questions so that you understand what's going on with your own body.
Ms. Burden. Unmute.
I would say, don't give up. Keep the faith and do not give up.
Right.
Well, with that said, that's going to be the very last word. Thank you, Dr. T. Love you, man, for
Oh, yeah.
for all you do. This was a powerful show, very informative, very open and transparent, and as we expect all of our shows to be. We do know that hope is what gives us the fuel to keep living, keep hope alive, as Miss Wendy Burden says, and never give up. Take somebody with you. Take ownership of your health. Take care of yourself, for you owe it to yourself. And with always, I like to leave you with these two words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love. But more importantly, remember this. You got the power. Until the next cutting edge, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next cutting edge. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Remember, health is
Good
wealth.
night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Health is wealth.
Love you all.
Bye-bye.